I have some great news for you today. You don't have to have everything all figured out. In fact, all you need is a little bit of courage to start. And that applies to so many areas of our life, right? But today we're going to dive in and actually talk about podcasting because I am so passionate about it. This is where I started several years ago with just a passion to share my story and hopefully help another woman on the other side of this microphone. I didn't have the business plan all figured out yet. One thing's led to another, but I had the courage to start. And maybe that's you too. You don't have to have it all figured out. But if you're curious enough about podcasting, grab those headphones and that cup of coffee because I'm going to share why I think this is such a powerful platform for women. All right, let's dive in. Welcome to Step Forward with Terri Mullen. If you're new here, welcome. If you have been following along for a while, welcome back, and thank you so much for being here. I'm a mom to 4 adults, wife of 34 years, a midlife entrepreneur, and your confidence coach who transformed my own doubt into confidence to speak, write my book, start a podcast, and launch my own business. Now I empower other amazing women just like you to do the same. So lean in and learn how to crush that fear, amplify your voice, and build confidence to create your own impact and income. I'm here to encourage you and empower you every step of the way. Let's step forward. Welcome back to the Step Forward podcast. Thank you so much for being here. I'm grateful you're here, and I hope this episode really blesses you today and you find some key takeaways that you can use in your own life. But today I want to dive in and talk about the power of podcasting, why I love it, why I've loved it after all these years of doing it, and how I believe that you can use it as a midlife female entrepreneur. I've actually been wanting to talk about this for a while. I have now 107 episodes that I have recorded, and I just think there's so much power in podcasting. In fact, I'm actually going to be doing a free masterclass this Tuesday, October 22nd at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So just bring your curiosity to learn more about podcasting. I'll post the details here. It's a last-minute impromptu masterclass, just kind of some thoughts and why I think it can really help you. And especially as this year kind of comes to a close and you're thinking about what you want to do in the coming year. I know it seems really intimidating to podcast, but it's really not. It's actually pretty easy to do. And I'll share that in the masterclass. But I started my podcast 3 years ago under a different name. It was called Hello Redlow back then. I had just enough curiosity to try it and the courage to actually do it. But after 100 episodes, I love it more than ever. And what happened for me, I was kind of at a crossroad trying to figure out what was next, obviously midlife. And I decided to sign up for a course, my very first course I ever took. At that point, I knew I wanted to write a book. I also knew I wanted to help women. I wanted to help them find their voice and believe in themselves, but I just wasn't quite sure what that all looked like or how I was going to start. And so I found this course to be really helpful. But towards the end, one of the prompts that we were told to do was to record a 2-minute podcast intro. At the time, I was kind of familiar with podcasts, listening to them here and there, but never really thought about doing my own. I remember grabbing my iPhone and my plug-in headphones at the time and sitting in my car. It made such a great recording studio at the time. There were no distractions. It was just me and my iPhone and my plug-in Apple headphones and my thoughts. And I started to record my intro. And a little bit of perfectionism kind of sank in at the moment, kind of reared its ugly head. And I kept doing it over and over. But as I was listening to my voice playing back, something magical kind of happened. I didn't hate the sound of my voice. And then I realized, wow, I enjoy this. I enjoy sitting here, talking into the microphone, kind of sharing my thoughts, kind of dreaming about what I would say if I had a podcast. So once I wrapped up that 2-minute intro, I launched it. I decided, what the heck? I was just curious enough to give it a try, came up with the name, created the artwork, and just did it. And I decided if I helped one woman on the other side of that microphone, then I had accomplished my goal. So here I am, 107 episodes later, and I want to empower you. I think podcasting does several things. As the creator, it allows us to create an authentic connection with our audience. Podcasting allows you to speak freely and directly to your listeners. You build a deep emotional connection that is impossible through text or even through showing up on social media. You get to use your voice, which is really central to helping those that you want to help, right? And I believe very much that our listeners feel seen and heard and valued, which is the mission that I have. I tell you at the end of every podcast, I want you to feel seen and heard and loved and valued and reminded that you belong. And every day I sit here, my body relaxes. I come alive. It's just me, my cup of coffee, my microphone, talking to you with my thoughts and my ideas, hoping to empower you and help you step forward with your life. Secondly, it builds trust and credibility. People can tell in your voice who you are. They get to know you, right? It builds that know, like, and trust. Because our voice carries a tone. It carries warmth or authority or compassion and empathy or excitement. And that resonates with our ideal audience. And it builds trust because they're listening to us in the earbuds for, 10, 15, 30 minutes or maybe even an hour. And in that time, they really get to know who we are. We get to share our wisdom and our experience and our insights, our fears, our worries, our doubts, our failures, our successes, all of it. It allows the person on the other side to realize that they're not alone, that there's someone out there that understands them, that feels the same way, and can help them move forward. Number 3, podcasts have incredibly long shelf life. I say that they're like books in a library. Social media disappears instantly, depending on what you're doing. If you're doing a story, it's gone within 24 hours. If you're doing a post, it disappears in the cluster of all the other posts that we make. You can't search it by topic. All you can do is search a person, right? But podcasts live long. They have a long shelf life. They're here to stay. Did you know that podcasts actually are search engine optimized? So that means that the listeners can search by a keyword or a specific topic or a title or even the author of the podcast itself. So it also leaves a legacy, which means that you can keep inspiring your listeners or those that come behind you in your family. They can hear what you had to say, your thoughts, your words, your ideas, and they can hear that for years to come. Just like books that live on a shelf. Your legacy, your words, your thoughts will live on. Number 4, I believe that this is an incredible platform for women and midlife women in particular. It's an untapped market. Did you know that recent data shows that there are less than 30% of female podcasters today? So it's an untapped market. There's room for you to start. You're not too late. You're right on time. And I say, if I can do this, so can you. Number 5, it is a low barrier to entry. It is so easy to start. It doesn't require a huge budget or a fancy studio. And with the right guidance, you can start your podcast. So, as I said, if you're curious enough, this Tuesday, October 22nd at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, I'm hosting a quick 1-hour class on the power of podcasting. And if you're curious enough, please show up. I'd love to help you. You don't need to be tech savvy, or you don't even need to have the perfect idea. Just your curiosity and a passion to use your voice to make a difference. So that low barrier of entry makes it really easy. All you need is your idea, your voice, a microphone, and some very basic editing software. I know that sounds a whole lot scarier than it really is, but you have me to help you. And finally, the last thing that I love about podcasting is that it's long-form content. It really builds that trust that I've been talking about. People really get to know you. Like I shared, they get to hear your tone of voice. They can feel your emotion. They can hear your thoughts and your opinions and your ideas and your expertise. And they get to learn who you are so much faster than watching you on video or social media, right? There's just something that happens when you can hear someone's voice versus social media that kind of Hollywoodizes our life, even when we're trying not to do that. It still does. Did you know that today it takes 5 to 7 interactions for people to decide if they even want to get to know us, which is much longer than that ever used to take. And people need 12 to 15 hours of hearing us before they decide if they will commit and buy and really invest in us. And all this is new data. It's why people are doing these longer online masterclasses or 3-day events or even the in-person events. And when you do a podcast, each hour you do, or each half hour, allows someone to get to know you and decide if they are willing to invest in what you have to offer or if your knowledge is actually even helping them. And so it's just a really cool platform. If you are a coach and an entrepreneur and you have any presence, even online, you have to know how to speak. It's the number one skill that we all need. So whether you're showing up on social media, which can be a whole lot scarier, right? And I have a course that I teach about that, learning how to speak and show up on camera. Or if you're sitting here behind a microphone, you're still speaking, you're sharing who you are. You're still being vulnerable, right? And all of it feels kind of scary. But it's a skill we all need. We need to be able to process our thoughts and share who we are and what we can offer to make a difference. So all of that to say that in preparing for this podcast, I did some research to figure out what are the real benefits for the listener on the other side of this microphone, because I found this super fascinating, and I've really been thinking a lot about social media versus podcasting. So podcasting, number one, actually stimulates our imaginations, just like a book, like I was talking about. It allows us to form pictures and thoughts and scenes in our mind. When we listen to podcasts, no matter the genre, our brain forms pictures in our minds as we follow along with the podcast host. Like I said, it's like reading a book, and we're actively engaged rather than just passively scrolling and consuming social media content. So here's some more of the benefits. Listening actually allows us to form these creative mental images in our minds, which is actually really healthy. It improves cognitive function, and it enhances our concentration, our memory, and our critical thinking skills. So just think about that. I have a friend of mine who's a social worker, and she's a teacher, talking about so many young kids today are losing their critical thinking skills. So this is something that's super important, and I think because we're listening intently and we're not just scrolling mindlessly, that we're actually strengthening our mind. And studies actually show that regular podcast listeners develop more refined auditory processing and attention skills. Super, super powerful. Our brain naturally will hone in and pay attention to every word that the podcast host says, and it allows us to slow down and listen for a while, doesn't it? Number two, it has a very positive impact. Podcasts can serve as a source of inspiration and guidance. And for me, it's empowerment. It can help manage stress and gain perspective. It can develop personal growth. So podcasting provides tools, like I said, for personal development, education, and it also fosters a sense of connection. Number three, it's flexible. We can listen to podcasts anytime, anywhere, in our car, while we're cooking, while we're walking or exercising. So many people actually combine listening to a podcast with physical activity. I listen to most of my podcasts when I'm walking, and it's so interesting because it doesn't distract me the way social media does. The next thing is that it increases knowledge and learning, right? There's a plethora of topics to choose from. It can help us grow personally and in our professional life as well. And like I said, it also fosters that sense of community. And do you ever wonder why podcasts feel like you're just having a chat with a friend? In fact, I was listening back to my early podcast and I say, okay, grab your headphones and let's just have a chat. But that's what it's like. It creates this unique social connection, and it allows us space to kind of process and connect with someone, doesn't it? It's almost like it slows down our nervous system in a way. At least it does for me, even when I'm sitting here talking to you. So for me, a lot of this data really lines up because when I sit here and do the recording, I'm very relaxed. This is my happy place. I'm kind of in a zone. And then you can also hear the excitement and joy in my voice as well because I just love doing this. But I'm also very present, very focused. And that happens to me too when I'm listening to a podcast. It happens in both ways. So I just think that's fascinating data. And it creates this deep connection to the person that's speaking. I feel like when I'm listening to Jamie Kern-Lima or Ed Milet or Mel Robbins, right? I feel so connected. And when they tell stories about their personal life, I feel like I'm right there. And I hope you feel that way too, listening to me here on this podcast. Because podcasting creates an incredible community. It allows us to engage in discussions, and as a creator on this side, it allows us to build our communities through Facebook groups and with guests that we have on to share their experience and knowledge, and with asking questions and sharing conversations about what matters to us and to the world, and trying to meet that need for the person on the other side, whether it's helping them build stronger relationships or feel better about themselves, or like me, building confidence and helping you believe in yourself as a midlife woman and entrepreneur. Or like my client Kathy, who provides education for those who are buying their first RV, or business growth and development, or your spiritual life. There's just so many different topics that we can talk about to help people move forward. And I believe with everything in me, as a midlife female entrepreneur, this is a platform that you really need to use to grow your business. And I've learned it all the hard way, which I will talk about in my masterclass. But did you know that there was a study done by the Journal of Broadcasting and Electronic Media? They found that listening to podcasts can actually reduce stress and anxiety. How awesome is that compared to social media, right? I've been thinking so much about this. And even as someone who has an online business, who is a content creator, I struggle myself with how much time I should be on social media. I've actually had to put my phone away at certain times and not even look at it until a certain time of the day. It's addictive, and we all know this, and those that have created these platforms know it's addicting too. We compare ourselves, it disrupts our sleep, and we spend hours scrolling and consuming. And so there becomes this addictive behavior, and we feel like we're missing out, don't we? We have this FOMO, like we're going to miss out on what somebody says or what somebody posts or what somebody's doing, right? And the comparison part, even as a creator, that can be dangerous is that we compare ourselves to what everybody else is doing, and we lose sight of who we are and what we're trying to accomplish with our goal and staying in our lane. So, all this to say, I love podcasting. I think it's amazing. I think it is a powerful tool to create connection. I think it slows us down, allows us to use our imagination. It allows us to really connect with the podcast host, the person that is sharing their knowledge, their insights, their encouragement. Those are the most podcasts I listen to anyway. And as a creator, it allows us to share who we are and to make a difference in the world. One step at a time, one podcast at a time, one episode at a time, and one voice at a time. So please join me this Tuesday, October 22nd. Bring your curiosity, bring your questions too. What are you curious about? And I can share everything I've done wrong. And I want to inspire you because I believe more than ever, podcasting is here to stay. The data actually shows it. It's growing more rapidly. There's just so much data that talks about, I think by the end of the year, there'll be over 500 million podcast listeners. You can monetize and grow your business by doing a podcast. And most importantly, make a difference in someone else's life. Know that you are seen, you are heard, you are loved, you are valued, and you belong. God bless. Until we meet again, keep stepping forward. Have an amazing day. Well, thank you so much for being here and for listening in. I hope you have a few key takeaways that you can apply to your own life. And if you don't mind, if you could take just a few moments and leave me a review, I would love it. It lets me know that there are people out there on the other side of this microphone who are listening in and this has had an impact on their life. And just leave those 5-star reviews. That would be so awesome. Until we meet again, know that you are seen, you are heard, you are loved, you are valued, and you belong. Let's keep stepping forward. God bless.